we are approving them with correction, correct?
You are correct, sir.
All right. Any other discussion? Call for the vote.
Councilmember Byerly.
Yes.
Councilmember Conklin.
Yes.
Councilmember Missouri. Yes. Councilmember Stevenson.
Yes.
Councilmember Brinker.
yes,
Councilmember Morris.
Yes.
Mayor Long.
Yes. Public comments and requests. Any comments from residents or city taxpayers? You have any break? You got 40? All right. Use request, the use of Third Avenue. Trunk or treat.
Murray Motors is requesting the closure of a portion of Third Avenue for their 7th annual trunk or treat event. And the section to be closed will be from Bellefonte to Maple Street from 4 to 8:30 p.m. on October 26th. They will work with the police department to coordinate the street closure.
What's with the council?
I move approval.
Second. I have a motion for a second. Any questions, comments? Call for the vote.
Councilmember Byerly.
Yes.
Councilmember Conklin.
Yes.
Councilmember Missouri. Yes. Councilmember Stevenson.
Yes.
Councilmember Brinker.
yes,
Councilmember Morris. Yes. Mayor Long.
Yes. Any other requests?
But none, Your Honor.
Okay, unfinished business, 5A, notification of the 2023 fire relief distribution.
At the last council meeting, you were notified that the city would be receiving its 2023 fire relief distribution from the Auditor General's office. And this is the notice that the city did forward that to the local Lock Haven Fire Relief Association.
5B, Sunset Pines Phase 2 update.
An update from the Director of Public Works regarding phase 2 of Sunset Pines, which started today with installing curb. And that they will begin paving the week of October 9th, and all the work in phase 2 should be done by October 13th.
So what is done so far? You know, what section, and is it complete when this is done as far as certain section of?
This would be most of, but not all of Sylvan.
Okay,
And then there are a total of 6 phases.
right,
So starts at the bottom of Sylvan, goes up, but then some of the feeder roads, some of the lower ones will be able to be done before the farther up ones.
right.
But yeah, the infrastructure, at least to add things into in the future, is what made these first phases more possible.
Sure. Okay. Anybody else have any questions? Okay, any other unfinished business?
I have none, Your Honor.
Okay, new business, 6A, consideration of resolution number 2023-26.
This is an update to the drug-free resolution that council adopted in the past. The updates are to align with federal law, which now requires the CDL employees go for random drug testing. We're part of a pool that helps us accommodate that. And so the specifics for that have been integrated into this at the request of the AFSCME bargaining union. Otherwise, there really are no other.
Changes to it.
Right.
Do I have a motion?
I move approval.
Motion for a second. Any questions or comments on the motion?
Can I offer an amendment?
For that?
Can I offer an amendment to the motion? Which would approve it subject to two technical changes. One is that in the second line of the resolution, Kirby should be replaced by hereby. And in the third line of the third paragraph, alcohol statute should be replaced by alcohol statutes. Friendly amendment.
You're okay with the?
So amended,
Yeah.
typographical.
All right,
Where was the first one?
And the second line of the bold-faced be it resolved.
Ah,
Dropped it.
Herbie.
Herbie.
I guess you could Herbie resolve.
Only if you're Hancock.
okay, so we have the motion with those amendments to it. Any further questions or comments? Call for the vote, please.
Councilmember Byerly.
Yeah.
Councilmember Conklin.
Yes.
Councilmember Missouri. Yes. Councilmember Stevenson.
Yes.
Councilmember Brinker.
yes,
Councilmember Morris.
Yes,
Mayor Long.
Yes. 6B, consideration of ordinance number 2023-07.
This is an update to the bylaws of the Ross Library that were adopted by the library in June at its regular meeting. And so they are being presented to council for its ratification. And fortunately, Josh Hudson from the library, who is president of the board, is here if you did have any.
What specifically changed? Because I was on the library board as liaison years ago, and I know I saw it back then, but I don't remember well enough to know what may have changed.
Sure, I am accompanied by my vice president as well also. And correct me if I'm wrong, mostly the amendment was moving that a lot of our committees were found to be not meeting as frequently. So we met with some advisors over the COVID times. And they set about moving some of the things that talk about in a regularity to ad hoc committees as necessary, and truncating into the 4 that I believe are presented. So indicating fundraising, something we don't hear.
Streamlining, if you will. Thank you, I appreciate that. I looked down through it and I couldn't remember well enough to know what had changed from.
Yeah, I believe the last update was in 2019.
Yeah.
2018 or 2019, so that was a bigger change, because that was 9 years, so this is just more, a little bit more streamlining than what we usually.
Thank you. Do I have a motion?
I would move approval, subject to a couple of corrections. Article 6 says that there are 4 standing committees and then proceeds to nominate 3. I think that should be 3 standing committees. And Article 19, so I'm sorry, Article 17 refers to the chairman of the library personnel committee, which I think is now the executive personnel committee. And if those changes are acceptable, I would move approval.
Second. A motion for a second. Are you amenable to those changes?
Can they repeat it? I'm sorry.
Could you repeat that to him so he knows?
Article 6 mentions 4 standing committees, but actually there are only 3 identified. So I think that should be 3. And Article 17 refers to, at the end of the paragraph, the chair of the library personnel committee, and I think that is now the executive. Article 17.
They've got 4 committees.
Where?
The committee,
There are 4 committees.
yes, the executive committee, committee on
Yeah.
building and finance, ad hoc committee on technology, and the committee on fundraising.
No,
Yeah, but it says 4 standing committees. The ad hoc committee is the technology committee is ad hoc.
So it would not be a standing committee.
We'll change it.
Yeah.
Article 14 should be changed.
all right, well, then we'll come on our 14. 17.
Is
Sorry, Repeat that.
Is the chair of the last full line of Article 17, the chair of the executive/personnel committee.
Actually, it can stand as it's writ. Because we have the personnel committee for evaluation, annual evaluation, and executive director. So why is that?
There used to be a library slash
Yeah.
personnel standing committee.
Yeah.
But that was removed. I assume, was it put in as part of the executive committee?
It meets as, yeah, it's called, the executive committee takes on personnel.
Okay, then that's what Councilmember Morris is suggesting, that where it says library personnel, because that's not an official standing committee anymore. If you just take library personnel and switch that with executive.
Okay.
Then that points back to the article on
I
executive.
I follow you, but, yep.
And I'll send those to Annie and she can get back, circle back with all of you guys.
Yep.
This is the first reading, so those records that have to be published before we do the final reading, which is 2 weeks from now.
Tammy and I, what we want to be trying to do on the approval. Good all.
So we're okay with what's been suggested?
Yeah.
Okay. I have a motion. Did I have a second for that? Excellent. A motion and a second on the floor. We discussed it. Call for the vote.
Councilmember Byerly.
Yeah.
Councilmember Conklin.
Yes.
Councilmember Missouri.
Yes.
Councilmember Stevenson. Councilmember Brinker.
yes,
Councilmember Morris.
Yes.
Mayor Long.
Yes. 6C, notice of the 2023 real estate assessment appeal.
Before we leave that topic, could I just draw everyone's attention to Article 18, which prohibits the use of the library building and grounds for any purpose other than those of the public library. Therefore, to the extent that we aspired at one time, maybe to develop the open space below the annex, that would seem to me to be prohibited by Article 18.
That would be good.
So. 6C, notice of the 2023 real estate assessment appeal.
The city was notified last Friday that there are 2 properties looking for an appeal to their assessed real estate value. That would be CVS Pharmacy, as well as the company that now owns the building that formerly was Cesco. Both of those hearings take place this Friday. I will be unable to attend the hearing, unfortunately.
And several of us will be on the appeal as well.
It's a little early in the day for me, but I've climbed it along. Let's say CVS put an awful lot of thought into their appeal. And I don't know whether you read the Susquehanna one the same way I did. It seems to me that they were actually asking for 2 years of taxes to be refunded. They've been paying their real estate tax.
I know they paid transfer tax. I don't know if they paid 2023's taxes or were even billed them, because they do state in the one part that they wanted to remain tax exempt through the end of 2020.
Sounded like an administrative failure somewhere along the line that they want to get rid of or get 2 years of taxes back for what could be a typo or a procedural thing. So is that ground to appeal those 2 years? Look to the.
They were appealing on the basis that they were not timely notified that the property was no longer tax exempt. I find it almost impossible to believe that the assessment office did not do that correctly. even if they didn't, well, it'd be up to the commissioners to determine what they want to do about that.
I couldn't believe that somebody would buy that property like that without checking in to see if they were taxable or not either. So,
Well, the commissioners may want to pull some videos of their own meetings where they said, and this will put it back on the tax roll. Which one would think if you said that at a public meeting about selling that?
As their, one of the reasons for going ahead with the sale.
It does seem like if you were the buyer, you would likely be paying attention to that public meeting where they were making that discussion.
Yeah, and the first prerequisite to be tax exempt is you have to be a not-for-profit corporation. And this mob is not. So the question of the status of the property doesn't even arise. The status of the owner disqualifies them from being taxed. Well, couldn't say that because that is the commissioners.
will they do their homework or will they rule on it that day within 5 minutes like they usually do?
It all
Especially
depends,
without us being there to say, hey, look, wait a minute here.
it all depends. I mean, I sat as chair of that board for 8 years, and it really depends on the makeup of the board and
As long as we have Richard there to say, go back and do your homework and check your video and do whatever to see before you make a ruling, because they don't have to rule right away, they can delay it.
no, they can hold off. They don't have to go right away.
Okay.
And past practice has been that they never pronounce on the day. They always reserve the statutory period for making a decision.
Which makes it a nail biter if you do the budget.
So Richard, you'll attend that for us?
I'm not guaranteeing that at 11:20 in the morning I will be attending, but I'll do the best I
We'll
can.
all call you and find when you get there.
We appreciate it.
I can always go the night before.
Okay, thank you. 16, the budget timer.
So every year, one of the biggest questions is, are we sure that everybody's wages and benefits are truly reflected in the budget? So, this year, these are internal working documents, so you have to give these back, and these are based on estimates. The only lines that we know for certain right now are the cost of healthcare, which I just found out last Friday, the cost of dental insurance and the cost of life insurance. Everything else is part of contract negotiations. We are still in arbitration with the police department and have not heard back a resolution from our arbitrator on that since March. And we have negotiated presumably a settlement with the AFSCME union, but we have not received that back signed yet. And council has not set the wages for non-union employees. So these again are estimates. But if you look at the first worksheet, you will see every employee in the city of Lock Haven is listed with their own department. And across the board, you'll see their annual wage, if they have overtime, how many hours that is and the value it's expected to be, as well as if they receive premium pay like the police. So again, those are estimates that give you the estimated total earnings for the year. For all employees, the city then must pay its share of Social Security and Medicare, which is listed there. And at the top of that column, you'll see the number 11161. That's the 5-digit object code that appears multiple times in the budget in nearly every expense department. And so, same is true with workers' comp, the next column. And that's whatever rate we receive, which we have not yet received our quote, but I inflated that slightly from last year. And that is the set rate that we'll receive for type of employee. And we pay workers' comp on every $100 of earnings. And then again, you have the health. The city pays the deductible for health insurance for employees. And then you see the employee contribution and the negative. Dental the same with the employee contribution and a negative amount. Value of life insurance and the prescription reimbursement. That gives you the final column, which is the total estimated wages and benefits that the city expends for an employee. That's kind of the value that the city invests in that employee. Then you can see that for most employees, we assign those employees to a single fund, but there are many employees who actually, because of the work that they do, are paid for through a variety of funds, including the general fund, water fund, and sewer fund. And the next of that is provided at the end, where you can see obviously fire and police are paid completely out of the general fund, which is taxpayer funded. The water fund and sewer fund are paid for by user fee. And so something like Department 429, which is wastewater treatment, all the people involved in that, 100% of their wage is paid from the sewer fund. None of that is paid from general fund. People like myself, I am involved in every one of the major funds. And so a portion of my wage is paid by the general fund by taxpayers, a portion by the water fund, user fees from water, portion by the sewer fund, user fees from sewer. And part of my wage, 10% of that, is paid for by wastewater treatment through an agreement with the partners at the waste or the Clinton County Sewer Authority. So as you go through and tally that up, you see that about 66% of all wages and benefits are paid for by the general fund in the city. 13% are the water fund and 21% are the sewer fund. And sewer includes both the people who maintain our own lines and the people who treat the wastewater for the multiple entities that send that to us. You will also note that, as is true the past several years, the airport fund does not generate enough revenue to pay its personnel. So those are paid for by the general fund. Now, this worksheet that says the value of everyone straight across the board, so you know how much we're total paying in wages and benefits, then goes on to a second worksheet. And every single type, which this one as an example, is the health expense. So every single person who receives health care, you can see how in the general fund it's broken down by which department they're in. The same with the water fund, whether they're in Department 448, which is our own, or 449, which is something that we are to get reimbursement from the filtration authority for. And in the sewer fund, whether it's 428, which is administration and billing of our own customers, 429, which is treatment of wastewater, or 459, which is the maintenance of our own lines. You see how that goes into each department. So when you're looking at the budget, behind every one of those major wage and benefit object codes, which all start with the number 1, is a worksheet like this that shows how that's allocated to each department. Now, even these allocations are estimates. So we do not know how much snow there will be, but I do need to have something in the budget to show that we're going to pay wages and benefits for snow removal, because we know that will happen. So for the people who that's by default going to be affecting, which is the streets and stormwater department, a portion, about 20% of their wage, just by default goes into there. What happens is, as they actually work during the course of the year, they write down how many hours they worked in each department, and that gets trued up. But this is just a way to help you be assured that everybody's wages and benefits do appear in the budget. And you can see that most people, by far, are paid from the taxes that the city receives. And the primary driver of that is, of course, police and fire with the largest quantity. And when you're looking at the water fund and the sewer fund, you can see comparatively that those are much smaller percentage totals of the money that we expend overall wages. But that's how that's done. Are there any questions about
It probably will be eventually when we understand it.
Well, you are welcome to come back to City Hall and view it. But you cannot take it with you because it contains information that is estimated with entities that we are still in contract negotiations with. But it also reveals whether an employee has a single healthcare plan or a family. So that aspect of it cannot be publicly shared by, certainly, we do publish everyone's wages and benefits as part of the annual budget when you do the wages ordinance. And there's plenty of information if you want to know how much people make, but not a secret. And so we kind of get that out there, but there are some things personnel wide that we cannot publicly share, but what we can, we always do. In fact, there are several for-profit companies who ask for that information quite regularly. So you can also go online and pay one of them your good hard-earned money and find out how much we pay, because by law, we have to provide that information for free to them to make money.
Councilman Breaker and Coughlin and stuff, as they weren't here tonight to view this, so.
So the worksheet will be available for you to stop in and view in my office at any time.
Any questions tonight? Yeah, any other new business, Craig?
After looking at this worksheet, will you be buying me new glasses?
Do we have an eye plan? You get-
I like this, good, but. No, but I had nothing else for you, Your Honor.
And we have the all phase one updates. For all of this. Does anyone else have anything to bring before council? Well, I have something, just to remind everyone that this weekend is, Commonwealth University, Lock Haven University Family Weekend. And there's a concert going on, of course, some of us will be gone. But the Saturday at the Roxy Theater featuring, Kate Yalman and also the band Dumb. An effort to try to bring university and city community together, so, if you can make it, tickets are available. Ticket to Roxy, they may be available online, I don't know that for sure, so you can check with, the Arts Council about that. So, something neat to do in town. So, if I don't have anything else, do I have a motion to adjourn? You do. We're adjourned, thank you.